Not a mother, they think the worst. They get a call like that.
I think that's why he's pushing it.
Okay, are we all set? Okay, great. I am calling today's meeting to order Friday the 6th at 1:01 p.m. Thank you all for attending. We want to welcome the board members in person and remote on video. And I want to welcome Jen Webb to her first meeting in person. Thank you, Jen. And to the viewing public, if you're out there, please, I'm glad you joined the meeting and thanks for attending. And please note that the meeting is being videotaped and a link to the video will be posted on the Olympic Authority website following the meeting. And I will remind you all to please speak as clearly as possible and to identify yourselves each time you speak or make a motion. And an agenda is included in your board packet. Renee, could you please call the roll?
Joe Martens.
Here.
Bill Beanie.
Here.
Cliff Donaldson. Frank Cardinal. Jen Holderine. Here. Steve Hunt.
Here.
Betty Little.
Here.
Art Lucy.
Here.
Diane Monroe.
Here.
Chris Pushkarsh.
Here.
Joe Zalewski.
Here.
And Eleanor Tatum. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Renee. So the first item for the committee on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes. I have a motion approving the minutes of our last meeting held on September 20th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Diane, seconded by Ellie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the president's report. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
You can shoot through the poinsettia.
Find out. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Got a quick report to.
That's a cool picture.
Building's on fire.
So that's a good picture. So we have a quick overview. We're obviously winter wonderland at the moment, but since we've met last, we have final numbers and information coming in from our summer and fall operations at the venues. This really begins with the opening of the Veterans Memorial Highway, which was the week before Memorial Day, and it runs through the October holiday. So we had our visitor count across all of the venues was up 22%. This includes activities, events, festivals, and retail. So across all of the venues, we had fall festivals, harvest festivals. We had our UCI mountain biking event. We had the Flaming Leaves event that you see in the bottom left at the Olympic Jumping Complex, as well as our regular daily operations of gondola rides, mountain coasters, and an expanding menu of opportunities for our guests at the venues. With the increase, with the 22% increase in visitation, and that 22% increase was just over 333,000 visitors across the venues throughout that time period. And the increased revenue was over $7.5 million in revenue throughout that time period. So really we're seeing as we continue to expand into year-round operations and provide additional opportunities, we're meeting that expanded growth in visitation and in revenue. On Wednesday, so as of 2 days ago, we closed out our second season pass deadline. The first was on August 4th, and the second concluded on Wednesday. To that point, we have surpassed last year's numbers, which was a record for that year as well. So we are currently over 28,500 season passes as of the deadline on Wednesday. So really unbelievable growth. The marketing team did a great last push to get these numbers to surpass where we were last year. Outside of all of the activities throughout the summer and fall, our venues are also very, very busy with renovations and ongoing modernizations here at the Olympic Jumping Complex. It's hard to see from where we are currently, but the wind nets have been installed. The wind nets are utilized to help minimize some of the impacts that we have from any wind events that could delay, postpone any or competitions. Particularly, we're looking to protect the Ski Jumping World Cup, which is an internationally broadcast event, and we want to ensure that it's able to go off on time as scheduled. So these, the posts that you see there have a netting that cuts across, and it helps to eliminate the most dangerous wind that would be most likely to impact the training competition of these events. Also at the top of the ski jumps, the remote restroom was completed this summer. So it provides better access to infrastructure and facilities for our guests. And during events, it also allows separation of our athletes and our guests by giving an additional opportunity for facilities where before it was one shared space in the base of the building. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to see the new Olympic Center sign that went up 2 weeks ago. So they did a great job designing it and installing it, getting it ready for winter. It is illuminated, so if you drive by at night, there is some back illumination. We were very careful to take into account dark sky compliance. So it does light up, it has a nice illumination, and is a great finishing touch to our Olympic Center. You can see the white bases are made to mimic the look of the steel structures that's on the Cummings Road side. So it plays on the original infrastructure and architectural design of the Olympic Center. For those that were over at Whiteface this morning, you saw that the new Bear Den patio is up and running. So this will be phase one of the patio. We'll do an extension for the upcoming year. So this uses radiant heat. It helps to reduce our salt usage, and it extends our space for guests to be able to not only enjoy hopefully the sunshine, but it is a great place for anyone that's watching kids or family members take lessons. So it's a great gathering place for our ski school as well. Moving on to Bel Air, this is the overlook quad that was installed last year. The mid station was not complete last season. They completed it this summer, and it is now open for operation as of Tuesday or Thursday. Yesterday they opened it for operation. So this allows the skiers, based on your ability level, to have greater access to the mountain. So our intermediate or beginner skiers can take the overlook quad up, get off at the mid station, and have alternate train to traverse down the mountain. So
there's another real bonus. That's where they have the parks, and a lot of the times the kids don't want to ski any more than just the parks, so they can get off and just go straight to the parks instead of ripping off the head wall. And so it's really, I'm thrilled.
Being a menace to everybody else.
Great. So it's up and running now. So we're excited to have that project complete. Also at Bel Air, the new beginner area. So this is a extended area. We have a very limited space for beginning and learning area down at the base of the mountain. We're trying to match the demand that we currently have. Obviously, we want as many people as possible to be able to enter into the sport, have lessons, and continue to experience skiing and riding from that point forward. So the new beginner area at the top of the gondola allows additional space for instructors. It actually is not for little kids. It's more of a learner's area. And again, expanded space and a great terrain. And it is also a really fun experience for those that might be their first time on the mountain. They get to take the gondola up to the top and take their lessons up there with a nice view of the Catskills. Down at Gore, the Gore gondola cabins have been installed and we're up and running for their opening day. These are replacing cabins that were there from 25 years ago, from 1999. Some of in the 2.5 decades, the technology in skis and snowboards has changed. So there was problems for people to keep their skis in the racks on the outside, the general wear and tear, and then really just the nature of running these gondolas multi-seasons. They have definitely seen their lifespan, and we're excited to have a new fleet of gondolas for a better guest experience there this season.
Ashley, are they level? So you'll walk in, or do you have to step up?
I actually have not been on them yet.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone here has, but
Anybody know?
What can we see from that picture?
No.
probably tough to tell.
It looks
Yeah.
like they might actually be level.
The ones,
To make a trip down.
yeah, it's on our list.
Moving on to the other side of Gore at the North Creek Ski Bowl. We are 1 year, or just actually not even quite to a year. They broke ground in March of 2024. The lodge, and to the right of the lodge is the staging building for the summer attraction, or the Zip Coaster. In the top left is the new Hudson Chair. So the North Creek Ski Bowl Nordic Center opens tomorrow on Saturday, and the Hudson Chair will open prior to the Christmas holiday. So this project is tremendous, really a ton of community benefit here, and has been a long time running.
How often is the ski bowl open for skiing? Is it just certain days, or?
The Nordic Center will open on Saturday, and they do a lot of
That's cross
high school,
country, right? Yes,
a
yeah.
lot of high school
Wonderful.
training competitions. So that'll be open weather dependent on a daily basis. And then as soon as they open the Hudson Chair for access, it should open daily. The night skiing is limited to a few days. So they do have night skiing over at the ski bowl, and that does not run every day.
Okay,
But once it's open for,
but that lift will be open every day,
as soon as it
and
opens.
there'll be snow on the trails. Good, thank you.
Absolutely. And so the completion of this project is set for September of 2025, with the Zip Coaster following for an opening in the summer of 2026. So it's on schedule and moving along very nicely. They have the building envelope totally enclosed at the moment so that they're able to work throughout the winter on the interior of the building. And the fencing that you're seeing, all of this still allows access over to the Hudson Chair. So they'll be as much out of the way as possible for the skiers. So we did on November 12th, Betty, myself, James from the general manager at Gore, hosted in partnership with the Tannery Pond Community Center, a community event, also in partnership with the Warren County EDC and Jim Siplin, a presentation to the community in the North Creek area to talk about the project, give a current status update, talk about the timeline of the project, and also the opportunities that it would offer for the community. So it was a really well-attended event. Great presentation from Jim Siplin on EDC about the opportunities and how Warren County EDC can provide resources for anyone to take advantage of opportunities related to expanding business due to the Ski Bowl project. So Betty gave a nice presentation, and I don't know if you have any comments that you'd like to say on it.
No, I was really happy with the attendance there, and what's happened is, there's a few controversies about how this is helping the town, which is ridiculous. But at any rate, I'm very satisfied. People talked to me on the way out and just said, thank you, this is really good. I think that we do need to continue, and I know that you go to the town board meetings, but just keeping the community involved in what's going on. And there is a good community organization that takes in Johnsburg, Chestertown, all the area around them. And so it affects everybody. I mean, Gore Mountain is the economic engine of Warren County. It has been forever, and it still is. And so this is really going to be a major step forward by having the ski bowl and having the summer activities brought from the top of the mountain, which takes a bit to get to, and right down there near where the business section is. And it's something they wanted forever.
There's so much potential there. Having been there in the summer,
Yep.
fall and winter, it's so much potential.
They have a lot of summer camps in Warren County and nearby Essex County. You'd be surprised the summer's camps that are around. One time I found out who they were and we sent them letters. It was like 12 or 14 of them. But that brings a lot of people for the parents' weekend, for the drop-offs, and this is going to keep everybody, you know, in more activity, more business, more visitors. So I can't, you know, I think it's wonderful.
In this, providing the community event offered an opportunity for anyone to ask questions and really just give an update. They asked great questions, and it had been a while since they'd given an update on the project, not just the status of it, but overall, again, reminding everyone in the area what it will look like, what it will mean, and get them thinking about the potential opportunities and what they can do to take advantage of those opportunities. So really was a great event.
It was, and I thank you very much for doing it because it was needed, and you know, just like a little anxiety going up there and seeing them all pour in. It was well received and it was nicely done. And Bones did a good job. He had them laughing a few times. Always. But it was, you know, people have no problem coming up to me complaining. And on the way out, I had no complaints, so I thought this had to be a good event. So.
Great. And there was quite a bit for others that weren't able to make it. There was quite a follow-up, and we've been doing some communication outreach since to answer any additional questions for people that have not been able to be there. So we'll continue to work on this. We also work with Tannery Pond, which is a community center. They do Warren Miller films. I think they have theirs coming up on December 13th. So we'll have representatives there just to continue the conversation and the presence within the community. Mm-hmm. Across all of the mountains, we continued on our snowmaking improvements. So we have a multi-year plan at each of the mountains that include continual upgrades of the infrastructure there. The crew was quite busy. They had about 25,000 linear feet of snowmaking pipe that was replaced at Whiteface, and about 35,000 at Gore and Bel Air. You can see on the top right, it's a photo of the new fan guns. So they had 20 new fan guns at Bel Air at Nebel that were installed this year. It's a very wide trail. It's also the race trail. And they struggle sometimes with the coverage. So this really helped for them to be able to get the coverage. And it was actually the first of all the trails to open on the mountain this year. And then down in the bottom right, some of the additional upgrades at Gore Mountain. With the continual upgrades to the infrastructure, we were able to open on November 15th at each of the mountains. So the first 3 mountains within New York State, and for both Gore and Whiteface, it tied for their earliest opening days ever. And for Bel Air, it was their 3rd earliest opening date. So in a year when the weather wasn't ideal, they were able to come up with some strategies on how to utilize the altitude of each of the mountains, be able to open that early and well ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday, so that by the time we got to Thanksgiving, we had 2 weekends in and we're ready to open for a large amount of guests. We are currently open now for daily operations, so we're open every day at all 3 mountains.
Yeah, I would just like to comment that I think this is the first time in my recollection that we downloaded
On the Facebook, yeah.
And I think that is a very progressive step in the ski industry. It's something that's Europe and glacier ski areas have done for many, many years. And yes, it's challenging for people to have to ride a chairlift down with their ski equipment, but typically the avid skiers that want to ski pre-season are able to do that. And the beginner traffic is not as high demand in November as it will be in December. And I really applaud the management of the 3 areas for being aggressive and not trying to say, well, it's top to bottom skiing. We did that for years. We didn't want to open unless it was top to bottom. And it was, now with climate change, it's a mistake to make snow on the lower elevations because they're just going to lose it all the time. So I just would like to make a point to the management and the leaders of these ski areas that I really appreciate their planning and their work. And it was,
And let's talk about who was there. It was the diehards, and the level of energy around that opening was the greatest I've seen. It was really, really exciting, and I'm hearing the same from my friends at Gore.
And the snow was great. It was worth it. It was worth traversing the downhill load to do it. I mean,
Being frozen
like March
chair.
it was beautiful.
I also was up there, and this is my first experience downloading, and I thought it went perfect. And the skiing at the top of the mountain was great.
Yeah.
It was really amazing. There wasn't a flake on the bottom of the mountain.
Oh, right, exactly.
We had really challenging weather, and I think the staff really took, a great precision in where and when they made the snow. It was terrific. It was just great skiing.
And I will say too that I heard a lot of people who are season pass holders appreciating the day that it was only season pass.
Absolutely.
I had a lot of people say that to me, but I really appreciate it.
Very strong message.
So it was only season pass holders that,
Just for the first.
Just for
For
November
Friday.
15th, for Friday, and then we
Okay.
opened for
Saturday,
Saturday,
Sunday.
just for the weekends. And then on November 29th, with Black Friday, we opened for daily operations.
We're a state operation, so, people say, the private sector can't compete with us frequently. But was it worth it? Was the income that came from it cover the cost of doing that?
Yeah. Yes, and the way that we opened this year, we're very mindful of the resources that it takes to open. To Art's point, trying to open from top to bottom uses a lot of resources. And so by taking a different strategy and opening and utilizing the altitude at the mountains, we were able to open probably with better conditions and less resources than normal to be able to do so. So it's just a different philosophy of how we phase in the opening of the mountains and expand the terrain. We want to have decent coverage at the top, obviously, but not try and waste resources and wait until we have optimal weather at the lower elevations.
Right.
So overall, at the end of the season, when we look at the amount of resources and costs for making snow and opening the mountains, we do expect to see that to a significant change.
I don't know if you can get this breakdown, but I was riding up on the chair with two people who found out that it was going to open for season pass holders, and they went and bought their season passes, and they had never had season passes. So I think that is a long-term investment message. You invest in us and we invest in you.
And
I thought that was really interesting. I said, I wonder if they have data on that.
And I think anybody that went, you were realistic about what was available and what you wanted to do. So it wasn't false premises that, like they used to say, top to bottom and all that.
It was crystal clear.
Yeah, and we're careful to say, on these openings, generally it does not include beginner terrain. So we're careful on the messaging so that people know what to expect when they arrive.
I would also say that is when we continue to see the uptrend in purchasing of season passes, because I understand your question, Betty, and I know in the golf world, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We try to open as early as we can, but do you get any public really paying, or is it just your members? But if you continue to see the increase in season passes, I think it justifies the investment of opening early. If our season pass numbers were starting to decline, then it's going to be a little bit harder, in my opinion, to justify opening early. But these, and also there's a certain amount of pride in being open first, and I love it, and I think it's fun for me to jab my Vermont friends and say, are you guys open yet? And and this is the first time I think that we opened it with Killington at the same time. So that's pretty.
Got us by a day.
So
I think he did it last year too. Like I said, no one hesitates to, especially the private ski areas, to talk to me about it. So.
I mean, if you look at the New York State ski report, for the first 2 weeks, it was opening soon, opening soon, opening soon for everybody else except for us. And we were the only ones that had,
Such a good message.
yeah. So it was really great to see this state-owned actually, outperforming everybody else.
It's good if it's successful and if it does increase season passes, yes. But I'm just
And it was a
saying that-
skeleton crew.
Yes. Big time.
So Thanksgiving weekend, here in Lake Placid, we had a very busy weekend, especially over at the Olympic Center. The Oval opened, as well as our Can-Am. So this year we have 17 weekends of Can-Am, and we also hosted the Adirondack Invitational. So this was a really busy weekend around town. Lots of positive feedback coming from the community about having offerings and bringing people over what sometimes can be a slower shoulder season and holiday. So really great to have the Oval back open and to be able to fill the Olympic Center with activities. Following our November 12th Tannery Pond, we had a nice celebration at the Olympic Center for the Lake Placid Hall of Fame. It was on November 13th, and it was the 41st induction ceremony that we hosted at the Olympic Center. And it was a very special evening because one of the two inductees was Betty. There was a great celebration. Dan Steck was there to give the official speech for Betty, and really just an awesome evening. And following the Tannery Pond, it was just such a testament to all of the work that Betty has done for the area. Because the day before we were down talking about economic development in the area and a project that Betty's been working on for a very long time. So this was great, Art. I know you were there as well. It was a fun evening.
Cheering on.
That's right.
Thank you very much. I was totally blown away when I got the call because something never expected, and so it was really a very, very special evening and something I'll always remember. So thank you.
A shout out to Dimitri Faldi,
Oh my God.
co-inductee.
Yes, yeah.
His
Life was lovely.
Wife and family.
Yeah, they were there. Nice. So many people were there. It was just really, really nice. So I've loved Lake Placid.
Well, and for those that don't know, the Lake Placid Hall of Fame committee, they receive, lots of, nominations each year. And this year they only had 2 inductions. There have been years where they've had many more, but they're very, very selective about it. And it was just a great ceremony at the Olympic Center. You can see towards the conference center side, there is a display of all of the Hall of Fame members. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty neat.
In addition, I was actually alive. Last year, now 3 inductees had passed. Yes, Dimitri had passed. But I went home and I thought,
Yeah. It is always nice to have a speech from the inductees.
Above and beyond, I think.
Mount Van Hovenberg opened for the season weekend of November. They opened with training opportunities for all 3 of the sliding sports and all different levels of the sliding sports. They hosted the national team selection races in skeleton. The U.S. as well as other international athletes were here training for bobsled. And we even had our parabob and paraskeleton teams that were here. This is just an amazing group of athletes, and I wanted to take a minute to highlight them. Some of them, their stories are amazing, and the work that they do is just really inspirational. Some of them have been amputees from birth. Several are veterans from either Iraq or Afghanistan. Some are retired Navy. And the athletes are just, they're really making the absolute best of each day and doing things that you could never even fathom. So super inspirational. If you'd love to get involved, every time they're here for either training or competition, they need volunteers. a great way to interact with the athletes, learn more about them and their sport. And so I would encourage you to, if you're interested, to get involved or at least stop by and watch one of the competitions.
I'm actually friends with, I should say woman, I used to say girl, a woman from Slovenia who is invited by ORDA to come train here. And she got hurt mountain biking. But what is incredible is she actually medaled at the Summer Olympics in archery this summer.
Wow.
And won Slovenia's first ever Summer Olympic medal.
Wow.
And I believe through her contacts with ORDA, they knew that the US team was having a training camp here, and they reached out to her and said, hey, we'd love you to come practice with our team. And she felt very welcome, and she appreciated it. And she's learned that she can only handle 2 rides a day from the top. And you know, it's all part of the learning curve, but it is a very uplifting feeling seeing these athletes have opportunities after their challenges. And it's a great thing that the Olympic Authority is involved in. Thank you.
And we are also hosting in January. So the Invictus Games are taking place. But we are hosting the team prior to them traveling onto the Invictus Games. So we'll be doing a little ceremony with them. They're going to do some fun events across multiple sports. So they'll be here for about 5 days prior to traveling on to that competition.
What are the dates of the Invictus Games?
They are here January 5th is the first day that they're here. So and they're here for 5 days. So I'm not sure of the exact opening date of the Invictus Games, but they're here 5 days prior to where they head over.
They're not, the Invictus Games aren't in Lake Placid.
Oh, okay, so it's training.
The US team is here training, doing like a team bonding part.
Okay, got it.
Crazy. We almost made it. So with all of the activities that we've had going on, our communications team has been doing an excellent job of getting the word out there about what we had, whether it be events or regular activities. So here's just a few snippets of some of this is not just here locally, but this is also national news and publications and some of our PR highlights. A few to point out that we were named one of the top family-friendly resorts in the U.S. And we were also named, Gordon Mountain was named the most affordable resort in the United States. Our UCI Mountain Biking World Cup got excellent coverage. And on November 29th, Governor Hochul announced the opening of daily operations across all three of the mountains. So we always get quite a bit of additional media once there's a governor's announcement as well. But lots of great information and stories coming out about the offerings that we have at the venues. A few of our, one thing I really wanted to highlight here is that the Olympic Museum has been doing an awesome job with their programming. So not only is the museum just a special place to visit, but they do a lot of programming, and a lot of it is educational and for schools. So they won the International Sports Heritage Association. They have a worldwide membership, and they did awards this fall that they held in Boston. And the Olympic Museum won the award for their educational program, which was they did an Olympic host city mock election that they held. And so they were the winner of the Educational Programming Award for that program. So very, very, very cool. And the work that they do and the programs that they offer are not just here regionally, but they ship little, they call it a trunk. They'll ship the trunk of artifacts to different schools, and then they'll hold a virtual session to the school, and the school has the artifacts there, and the museum staff will talk to the students about what the artifacts are and some of the history related to them. So really some great programs that they've done. This is our updated major events schedule. Again, these are highlighting the major international events, and it doesn't even include the Can-Am weekends or the local or regional events that happen every day. So this is just from a major international event schedule. We've got a very busy winter up ahead of us. And again, we continue to get calls about hosting events far into the future.
I was thinking this on the way up, and I just think we owe a huge amount of gratitude to Governor Hochul and for the state of New York, because we would not be this successful, I don't believe, if we had not had those improvements. If we were still dealing with the venues that were not up to speed and could not host major sporting events that we are now able to host. It's just totally amazing for her support and the previous governor's support, but her continued support to fund these. And it's a huge amount of money that we have been able to do. And we are very, very fortunate. So
Well said, Betty.
thank you.
Very nice. And if you look at the climbing interest in the skiing, part of that is that we have kept it more affordable, and that was always part of the mission right from the start. So I really appreciate that growth is about a lot of things. It's about a lot of investment, and it's about keeping our eye on the mission.
So just one further event announcement next Friday, I think. We're unveiling the welcome flag for the World Championships in 2025. Area grammar and high school students were invited to submit artwork that was put together into I have no dimensions of a 20 by 30 flag, but it's larger than the size of this. Our arrangement here, all pieced together in an American flag with welcomes to all the athletes. So next Friday, I think close to 250 or 300 students who participated in this are going to be bused over to Van Hovenberg for a little event to unveil that welcoming flag, and athletes will be available. And I viewed the flag a couple of weeks ago over at Hovenberg. It's spectacular. And it's, grammar school art up to high schools, but it's very sophisticated the way it's all put together in the shape of an American flag. So nice little event. It's only going to be an hour long, but for anyone who happens to be here or be in town, you're all welcome.
What time? Well, we'll find out.
I'll let you know.
We can find out later.
I think it starts at 9:30 in the morning. I think it's going to be from like 9:30 to 10:30. So it's a morning event.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Back to me. So there's no old business on the agenda, so we're going to move right into new business. We have 3 proposed resolutions on the agenda. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 546, a resolution approving and adopting the Olympic Authority's 2025-26 budget, 2024 through 2029 financial plan? Have a motion, please. Moved by Betty, seconded by Ellie. Does anyone have any questions about this? We discussed it at the last board meeting, and Ashley gave a presentation on it, so I don't want to have her repeat the whole presentation, but certainly if anybody has any questions, I don't believe there's been any changes since we discussed it at the last meeting.
I just had one question, and it had to do with the under employee benefits for 2024-25 and proposed for 25-26, why there's such a big difference in the numbers.
So for 24-25, heading into the financial plan, there was an estimate on the amounts. We have renegotiated for the upcoming year a flat rate on our employee health insurance. And so what we did is we were able to get much more accurate estimates for those numbers. And so what you're seeing is a very accurate number carrying forward.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. May I have a motion to adopt Resolution 547, a resolution committing capital and granting approval for the President and CEO to enter into agreements for the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center Kitchen and Dining Improvements Project? Could I have a motion, please?
So moved, Art.
Moved by Art. Seconded by
Steve Hunt.
Thank you. Ashley would like to give us a little background on the improvements.
So the Olympic Training Center here in Lake Placid is owned by the Olympic Authority. It is managed by the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee through our arrangement. The dining center and the kitchen, the kitchen itself has actually never seen any upgrades since it was built. They've done some minimal arrangements and resurfacing, if you will, to the actual dining area. But it is currently in need of an upgrade to better service all of the guests. This is the current status of the dining area that you're seeing with the kitchen just behind it. Picture of the interior of the kitchen. You can see just from an efficiency standpoint, and just you can see it's seen a lot of good years, and it's time for an improvement. So here's a look at what it will look like. There's a few different things that we're taking into account in the planning and design of this. It will be accessibility for all of our guests. So we do, obviously, being the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center, support all athletes and abilities. We also, as a major development hub for winter sports and summer sports, see athletes of all ages. So ensuring that the accessibility to all the services meets the guests is one feature of this. We are also aligning with Executive Order 22. We want to help to reduce the operating expenses and use modernized equipment. So we're taking into account different ways and infrastructure that we can use to operate more efficiently. It is very segregated right now between the outdoor space, the indoor space, the dining and the kitchen space. So this opens up the space, makes it more accessible. There is outdoor seating, but it's not accessible have to go through 2 doors to be able to get to it. So we're opening up the space, using a lot more natural light, and adjusting the flow. It does have a lot of digital displays. There's a lot of focus on sports nutrition. They have an on-site nutritionist and dietitian. The displays that you see there will give better information to the athletes on what's contained within the food services. There's another photo of it. Again, the extended dining area and how it ties into the kitchen modernization. Any questions on it?
Just
Yeah.
a question on the timing and whether it will disrupt existing food services in the process.
So it will. We have worked with the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee on the impact of this. We even suggested potentially with the upcoming 2026 Winter Olympic Games, they will have a huge influx of athletes training there. It's their desire to do the project in March. It's a shorter window for the project, so there will be a disruption. They'll be bringing a temporary kitchen, and they'll be doing all of the food service out of the gymnasium.
Okay.
So there will be a disruption that they're planning.
So actually not a disruption, just a relocation or
but their preference was their big influx of the training will come for early summer. So they preferred to have it done and accessible for the athletes that will be heading over the 2026 Olympics after.
But it won't disrupt the amount of athletes they'll be able to accommodate or any training schedules at all. It'll just move around the dining service.
Yeah, and they picked the window of time that they know to be the slowest for them so that they minimize the amount of impact. But the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee is bringing in an exterior modular kitchen unit that they'll be doing all the food production in and then serving in the gymnasium.
Other questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 548, a resolution approving a project labor agreement for the Mount Van Hovenberg sliding track and refrigeration plant improvement projects? Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ready?
Second.
Seconded by
Steve.
Steve, thank you, Steve. Excuse me. So I think you're all aware that we used a PLA when we did the improvements to the convention center, excuse me, the Olympic Center, for projects that have multiple contractors, multiple components and complex projects. PLAs tend to work very well. We had an engineering consultant evaluate the project labor agreement and whether it would be beneficial for this project. And they fully endorsed it. And I'm sure you all read the 40-page project labor agreement that was attached to your the board package. But if there's any other questions, I think Ashley or Ed would be happy to answer them.
This is a project labor agreement that the overall contractor has come up with. That was their choice, right? So this is kind of like the Crown Point Bridge contract was out there and the contractor was selected, the overall contractor, and they came up with a project labor agreement. So it's
not exactly. So we, knowing the speed and the complexity of this project, we looked to see if we could proceed with a project labor agreement in order to utilize efficiencies and having it consolidated, if you will. So the study came back showing that there would be benefit towards it. And so the contracts for this project have been let with a project labor agreement arrangement.
right. And I read it and underlined it and everything, and it's in the car. So
Yes.
it's my mode of operation, I guess. But it appeared to me that there could be contract or companies here working that are not union contractors. They could still work under this
Yes.
project labor agreement,
That's correct.
which I think is important.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Could That concludes today's meeting agenda. Are there any other items that folks would like to discuss or bring up?
Do we have dates for the next meetings?
We have a tentative schedule for 2025 that we need to do a little editing to include committees, and then we will circulate it to the board. It'll be similar with holdings of dates and committee meetings.
We'll get that around as soon as possible.
Do we know, just for immediate planning purposes, do we know if we're having a January meeting?
It is not currently being planned for.
Okay, thank you. I just needed to know if I need to immediately.
If there's nothing else, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ellie,
Second.
seconded by Art. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All, any opposed? Any abstentions? The meeting is adjourned as of 1:53 p.m. Friday the 6th. Thank you very much.